I am AnnaLee Dragon, the director of the Kinderhook Memorial Library, and it is Monday again. And so we are doing a book talk this week about Jewish Heritage Month, which is also May. Turns out May, there is a lot to celebrate, which, makes total sense. It's one of my favorite months of the year. Springtime is beautiful, the flowers are blooming, we're getting to be outside again, and there's just all wonderful things to celebrate. So last week we talked about Asian Pacific Islander American Heritage Month, and this week we're going to talk about Jewish Heritage Month. So I chose a selection of Jewish authors that I think you may be familiar with and some you may not. They're not all brand new books. Many of them have been out for a long time, but they're really well known and prize winning. And there is, again, an array of things, including a brand new nonfiction, as I ended with last week, that I will end with one this week. So there's an array of stuff, whether you're looking for a thriller, whether you're looking for something funnier and lighter, beach reading, whether you're looking for some nonfiction history, I've got you covered. So I'm going to put up a cover of a book, and then I'll talk about the book, and we'll do that through I think I have 5 titles this week. And then at the end, I will put all the covers up again, so if you missed any of them, you can catch up then at that point. You can request all of these. They're all available in the system. Some of them are on Hoopla. If you haven't checked that out yet, you should. There's no wait list. You can get it right away and read it on your e-reader or listen to it as an audiobook. It's fantastic. And yeah, if there's any questions or if you have any other suggestions, things that I missed, because this is, again, a gigantic category with so much to choose from, a rich history of excellent literature written by and about Jewish people. And I am really excited to talk about some this week. So if you have any other ideas that I missed, though, shoot me an email or comment on the video and let me know about it so I know to include them next time. Okay, so let's get started with our first title this week. As you saw, our first title is by a very popular author, Michael Chabon. He has written a number of books. He has a pretty deep catalog. And so this book that I've chosen, The Amazing Adventures of Cavalier and Clay, I chose because it won the Pulitzer Prize for Fiction in 2001. And even though he has a large catalog to choose from, I figured why not start with the one that made the biggest splash and got the most attention award-wise, literary award-wise. But the good news is he's written a bunch, so if you've read this one, you could check out any of his other books, and I have heard wonderful things about all of them. So The Amazing Adventures of Cavalier and Clay, for those of you who haven't read it yet, it follows the lives of 2 Jewish cousins before, during, and after World War II. He also has written a number of books. He wrote one called The Yiddish Policemen's Union. That's an alternate history. I love an alternate history, which is, for those of you unfamiliar with that term, it means that they take something in history and imagine a piece of it went differently and what that would look like. So what if the Allies had lost World War II? What would that alternate history look like? And you can do it with any event, and there have been many books written in that way, but if you're interested in alternate history, you might want to check out his Yiddish Policemen's Union. Otherwise, the Cavalier and Clay are also involved in the comic industry, so in kind of the golden age of comics. So it has that element to it, but it's a family story. It's I think it's gotten excellent, obviously, reviews if it won a Pulitzer Prize, but I just thought it highlighted some Jewish heritage, some Jewish family, and it was the perfect read to suggest out of his, like I've said, extensive catalog. So if you've read that one, though, maybe check out one of his other books. And now we're going to get on to the next book. So pardon my look down at my notes here. You just saw the cover of Everything is Illuminated by Jonathan Safran Foer, who I think I just said that last name word, Safran Foer, I think is how it's pronounced. He wrote Everything is Illuminated in 2002. It was also made into a movie starring Elijah Wood. I listened to this as an audiobook, which was really great. And I always find that interesting to do when there are words that I'm unsure how they are pronounced when I read them, because I like to hear somebody pronounce them correctly. I did this when I read The Kite Runner by Khaled Hosseini, because there are a lot of Afghan names and I don't automatically know how to pronounce those correctly. And so it kind of drives me crazy if I'm reading a physical book and I see a word that I don't know how to pronounce. So I like audiobooks for that reason. And I listened to Everything is Illuminated years and years ago. It came out in 2002, I think. So this is his first novel. He has written a number since, and it's fictionalized, but also autobiographical. So they're fictionalized retellings of things that have happened in his life or in his family's life. So the first part, or I guess it switches back and forth between two storylines. One of them is a fictionalized history of the eradication of the town of Trokenbrod, which in real life was called Trakenbrod. And it was a real solely Jewish shtetl in Poland before the Holocaust, and Jonathan Safran Foer's grandfather was born there. And so this storyline follows when it was destroyed during the war. I didn't know what a shtetl was until I read this book. So I did learn a lot from it, as well as finding it really entertaining. And then the second story that kind of goes back and forth is it's about Foer's trip to the Ukraine in search of remnants and memories of Trakenbrod, where his grandfather was born, even though it was destroyed. So he goes back on his own current day trip. So there's a timeline difference. It's history and current, and there are point of view differences. They are fictionalized, but they are based on either his or his grandfather's stories and the history of the places. I will say he has a very particular voice, and so you may not like it as much. I don't know. I think for me, I loved one part of the story, and the other part I had a harder time with. And so that can just be about the characters or the voices they're using. But each author has their own distinct voice, and some you love and some you don't. I read this book. It had an impact. I learned a lot. I wasn't my favorite, I guess, writing ever in a certain way, one of the voices, but I did think it was really powerful and taught me a lot. So I would still, even though there are parts that were not my favorite reading, I guess, I really think it's a worthwhile read and a powerful read. And he's written some others since then. So this is his debut, which is my favorite. But he's written some others, and I think he's hugely popular and has become a big name. So it's well worth delving into, especially if you want to learn about that period of time or this particular piece of history that you may not know much about. Okay, on to the next book. So this next book is available on Hoopla, and there are a couple physical copies in our library system as well. So if you'd rather read the actual book, you can put a request in, or you can check it out on Hoopla immediately. The author is Kyra Davis. She had a Jewish mom and an African-American dad. And as we've talked about intersectionality, I didn't want to only tell the stories or the authors who are white Jewish men, because there are other stories to be told too, surrounding people of Jewish faith. They come in, everybody comes in all colors and sizes and shapes, and so we should represent all equally. And so I thought this was interesting, as she also writes from the point of view and uses some of that Jewish heritage in her writing. So this first book that I put up is called Sex, Murder, and a Double Latte. Kind of sassy. And it's the first in a series she ended up writing called The Sophie Katz Mysteries. And so Sophie Katz is her main character. This one came out in 2005, and there are, I think, 5 or 6 other books that came out. So if you like this one, let me know, because there are other books in the series. It's kind of a beach read, a thriller, a unique mystery plot. So it's both if for mystery readers and maybe somebody who's looking for something light and entertaining to read on their summer break. So it stars Sophie Katz, who is a thriller novelist herself. So it gets a little meta. And she finds that what she is writing in her mystery thrillers starts coming true. So it is a really unique angle. I don't know if I've ever read anything like that before, or not many anyway. So that's a really cool kind of unique angle for them. And I do love some chick lit. It says it has a really lovable heroine, which is always important to me. If I don't like the character, the main character, I have a hard time with the book. Doesn't mean I have to necessarily relate to them, but I have to like them. And they say that Sophie Katz is exceedingly likable. So that makes me want to read it too. I haven't checked this one out yet, but I'm looking forward to it because I have been loving some lighter reads during this period where it's been very stressful and there's a lot going on. And I'm not looking for heavy reads right now. I want something light and enjoyable, and these sound like just the ticket. Okay, so I have 2 more books to discuss with you. So this next book I actually have here in physical person also. It's called The Three Weissmans of Westport by Kathleen Shine. And there's the cover of the book. So this one is called it came out in 2010. It's called A Playful and Devoted Homage to Jane Austen's Sense and Sensibility, which again, if you're looking for some lightness, some humor, some romance kind of stuff, I feel like this book may be the right choice for you. The one review I read called it full of pleasure and humor, which are two things I love to read about, and they help bring you into that mood, I think. So she's also, this author, Kathleen Shine, has written a number of books, which are available in the catalog. So if you've already read this one, maybe check out one of her others. She has been referred to as a modern day Jewish Jane Austen. So that's intriguing immediately to me. Anytime there's a modern day of a beloved classic author, that always intrigues me, because it doesn't mean that they're the same, but it means that if you enjoyed one, there's a good chance you're going to enjoy the other. So I know lots of people around here, Anglophiles, love all things British, Jane Austen among them. And so if you are into those things, but looking for a slightly different take, maybe check out Kathleen Shine and some of her work here, including this book, The Three Weissmans of Westport. Okay, one last book, and then we're done for the week. So I'm ending this week, as I did last week, and maybe I need to rethink my planning. It's not the lightest book ever, but it's worth reading about, an important story, and got excellent reviews, and it's brand new. So this one's called The Light of Days, The Untold Story of Women Resistance Fighters in Hitler's Ghettos. And it's written by Judy Battalion. It was called Propulsive and Thrilling. It has already been optioned by Steven Spielberg from Major Motion Picture, which, you know, we all know that he created Schindler's List, for an adaptation of that, which was super powerful. And so I'm excited to hear that he's already optioned this book. And as kind of a feminist, I'm excited that it's stories about women heroes, because we don't always get those, especially at that time period. It was everything was focused a lot on what the men were doing because they were fighting the war, but there was a lot of support and other kinds of fights that went on in society that women were a part of, and I love that it's telling that story. So this brings to light the extraordinary accomplishments of brave Jewish women who became resistance fighters. So basically, there was a group of Jewish women in Poland. Some of them were teenagers, they were that young, who helped transform Jewish youth groups that were already in existence into resistance cells to fight the Nazis. I know nothing about this piece of history. I'm always excited to learn something like that. And again, this story just sounds, they called it, you know, just page turning, thrilling, propulsive, you know, compulsively readable. So all of those things combined with an excellent new piece of information that I know nothing about gets me very excited. So this book has a wait list. People are already on it, but you can definitely get on the wait list. And we own a copy, which means that you're only waiting behind our patrons to get it. So even if it seems like a long list, put your name down, because it won't take that long to come. And even though it's not, like I said, the latest area subject to end on, there's power in that, right? There's a new story to be learned, a piece of history to be remembered, and women to celebrate for their strength of character and conviction. And, you know, we need to remember these pieces of history, as I said last week. So I am very excited about this book. I hope you are too. There are, of course, myriad books here by Jewish authors about the Jewish faith and Jewish people, including a bunch of cookbooks and more religious books. So if you're looking for something else that I didn't name, please let me know and I'll be happy to help you search our catalog and find what you're looking for. But let's all join together in celebrating the Jewish faith and the Jewish people in this month and all that they have contributed to our society and our culture. So it is a wealth of just an embarrassment of riches that we have gotten from all of our friends of the Jewish faith. So thank you for joining me. I love talking to you guys. I have some more book talks planned in the coming month, so just keep your eye out. And if there's anything you'd like me to talk about, let me know, and I'm happy to oblige. And keep an eye out for our newsletter coming out at the end of June, beginning of July, because I'm hoping to do, while I will continue Monday book talks online, for those of you who like that, I'm hoping to do a few outdoor book talks in person at the library like we used to. So that'll be a fun return of something that I always enjoyed. So keep an eye out for details on that. Thank you so much for joining me again. I appreciate you. I miss seeing you all, and I hope you're having a wonderful spring, and let me know if there's anything we can do for you. Thanks so much.